A recent question comes up in our hearts, and it's one that always kind of afflicts us. But I think now more than ever, people are asking these questions. What is it going to cost me? Do I have time for this? Do I have to go? A lot of these questions have been born from quarantine, from a time when we could dictate what we wanted to do whenever we wanted to do it and pretty much stay at home for most of our days. And of course, this leads us to different difficulties that we face the after effects of, if you want to call them the ripple effects, of possibly selfishness, laziness, difficulties that unfortunately were dictated to us and restricted by others that were trying to control us. But the reality is that we're coming out of that now. We're coming out of that insofar as you realize that you have power. You realize that you are in the midst of the world to sanctify the world, to change the world, to make sure that Christ reigns in your home, but first in your heart, and most of all in the world. Each one of us still, though, asks those questions on a daily basis. What is this going to cost me? Whether it's gas, whether it's food, whether it's something that we're doing this weekend. What is it going to cost me? How much time is it going to take? And do I really have to go? What's difficult about this is that we realize that there's going to be suffering in this life. We try not to mince words at the Fathers of Mercy, and we've told you, and the gospel tells us, so that we can tell you, that you will have tribulation in this world. There's going to be a cost. There's going to be an effect on your time. And yes, you do have to go. And what I'm talking about is truly your prayer life, your relationship with Jesus Christ. Because that doesn't fluctuate with the cost of an oil barrel. That does not fluctuate with the price of bread. That doesn't fluctuate with what you're doing this weekend. What it does fluctuate with is how much we love Jesus. Do we really give him the time to truly hear his word, to, as the Heavenly Father said, listen to him? St. Thomas Aquinas said that we are like an archer, that when we see our target, we can shoot our arrow straightly at that target. That if we don't know our end, where we're going, we will get lost. And we will go all over the map trying to figure out what is our end. What is the goal of this life? If we don't have that firmly in front of us, we will waver. We will follow false prophets. We will follow false messiahs. We will follow false gods. But each one of us, we ask that question, where am I going? Where am I going? Because Lent is a privileged time to ask those questions of sacrifice. What is it going to cost me? Giving up sugar, giving up a little bit of coffee. Maybe it's giving up Netflix. Maybe it's limiting the things in my life. Maybe it's just adding prayers to my daily schedule. It's going to cost. Time is going to be taken up with this. And yes, you have to go. Why? Because our salvation depends on Jesus Christ. Our salvation depends on him who is transfigured in our Holy Gospel today. And it's going to cost a lot. It's going to cost a lot. Because your time, talent, and treasure, they're expensive. They're expensive because we hold them so dear. So what does this mean in our daily life? What is it going to cost me? It's going to take hearing gossip and keeping my mouth shut. It's going to take being patient with my children at the end of a long, hard day at work. It's going to take giving forgiveness where it doesn't seem like that person wants to say they're sorry. It's going to take giving of myself to my wife or to my husband in their struggles, in their difficulties, giving to my children when it is inconvenient. It's going to take the cross. And guess what? We pull back from that. We say, no. Wait, this is the God of love. Wait, Father Andy, you must be mistaken. Have you read the gospel recently? This is a God of mercy. This is a God of love. This is a God who understands where I'm at, and he accepts me for who I am. Those are true. Absolutely. But he also said that you must take up your cross and follow him daily. Daily. 365 days a year, 7 days a week for a lifetime. 70 or 80 years if we're strong. But what's amazing is that we shrink back. We run from this. We are scared of this. We are fearful of suffering. Just look around. Look around at a world that is crippled by fear and confusion. Confusion at what the government's going to do next to us. Confusion about what's happening across the pond in Europe. Confusion as to who is truly leading us. The world tells us all of those things. Jesus tells us otherwise. He says, you will have tribulation in the world, but take courage. Be not afraid. I have overcome the world. Well, Jesus, I wish you would overcome it a little bit more in my life. I wish you would overcome it a little bit more in America. I wish you would do it a little bit more in the world. Because it looks bleak. It looks ugly. It looks bad out there right now. But our job doesn't change. Our job doesn't change. Because like Peter, we want to run from the cross. The whole reason why Jesus took Peter, James, and John up the mountain to be transfigured before them is because the preamble to this gospel in Luke's gospel was he talked about the cross. He talked about having to suffer and die, that the Son of Man would lay down his life so that we might be saved. And guess what? Even in the midst of this beautiful, glorious manifestation, a theophany, the brilliance of God before their eyes, what was Moses and Elijah talking to Jesus about? You got a job to do, Jesus. The cross, the suffering. They were talking about his passion. We talk about our passion a lot too. We talk about our difficulties a lot too. But is it wrapped in the cloud of the Holy Spirit? Is it wrapped in the glory of knowing that God will vanquish our enemies, that God will be victorious in this world? Or is it just talking about the passion to suffer more, to prove to others that I'm suffering more than you are? I've got it worse than you. Take pity on me. Look at what I've been through. Look at what I'm doing. It's a difficult message, my brothers and sisters. It's difficult because we run away. We run away from the cross. We run away from the passion and death of Jesus. And yet here we are in the midst of it during this Lenten journey. You're doing your prayers, almsgiving, and fasting. You're uniting yourself more and more to Jesus as best as you can through those Lenten resolutions. You're in the midst of the passion. And Jesus today reminds you that it's all done for the glory of God. It's all done so that we can get to heaven. Because when we are attached to the things of this world, we are weighed down. When we are attached to our selfish pleasures, we are weighed down. When we don't look at one another and be generous and merciful and loving, charitable to them, we are weighed down. So that prayer, fasting, and almsgiving puts Jesus right in front of us, right before our eyes, talking about his cross, but manifested in his glory. And how beautiful it is that we can behold this glory. We can behold and listen to Jesus in Eucharistic adoration. Father Nathan said it last week. Father David's been saying it. We have Eucharistic adoration here almost all day, from noon to 5:30. St. Joseph has perpetual adoration. Holy Spirit has their adoration times. Go before the Lord in glory and listen to him. Listen to him because he has a message for you, a message of good news. And as he told the prophets in the Old Testament, his plan for your life is not for woe, not for suffering, enduring forever. It is for your benefit, for your glory, for the salvation of your souls, for our souls. God loves us so much that he gives us this beautiful message of his cross, his passion, his death. But that's not the end of the story. That's not our target. The target is his resurrection. The fact that he rose again on the third day and manifested his glory to us, to his apostles first, and now to us, the believers in him in this day and age. And as St. Louis de Montfort said, the saints of this age will be glorious because they will have to go through a tribulation unseen by previous saints. That's why we need our Blessed Mother, as St. Louis de Montfort says. We have to go to Jesus through Mary because Mary knows what it's like to be faced with the cross. She knows what it's like to have gone into exile. She knows what it's like to be persecuted and chased after men hunting her child. She knows what that's like. She knows what it's like to be in the midst of the world, but living for Jesus Christ, living for her husband, living for God and his will in her life. She was ready to do his will. We know that, of course, from the Annunciation saying, "Be it done unto me according to your word." She was ready to say yes whenever God asked her whatever he asked her. Just so happened that he asked her to be the mother of God, the mother of his beloved Son, his chosen Son. Yes, Lord, we're ready too. You ask us for our time. I willingly give it. You ask us, you tell us, what is this going to cost us? Yes, I will do it, Lord. You ask us, will you suffer this for me? I looked for someone, in Isaiah he says, I looked for someone to console me in my passion, and I found none. St. Mother Teresa of Calcutta said, be the one. He looked for nobody, he's looking for you and me to console him in his time of trial, to be there with him in Eucharistic adoration. And by the way, as an aside, Jesus doesn't care what you want to read in adoration. He doesn't care about what you want to do in adoration. He wants you to be there with him. He wants to speak to you heart to heart. So it's not about what you're doing in adoration or how you fill your time or even how much time you spend in adoration. He wants to be there with you, to heal you, to help you to grow in holiness, to sanctify your family by taking the grace and the strength you receive from Eucharistic adoration and take it right into the doors of your home. God wants you heart to heart. God wants us to be with him, to endure with him, to persevere with him, to carry our cross valiantly with him in this Lenten journey. It's going to cost a lot. It's going to cost my pride. It's going to cost my lust. It's going to cost my anger. It's going to cost my gluttony. It's going to cost all of those vices that I seem to be clinging to instead of clinging to Jesus Christ. It's going to cost my laziness. But isn't it worth it? Isn't it worth it for the glory of Jesus Christ to see him face to face, to be with him in heaven for all eternity, where every tear will be wiped away, where gas prices won't matter? Won't it be worth it to bring your family to heaven? Won't it be worth it to bring your wife or your husband to heaven? Won't it be worth it? The sacrifices made in this life, as St. Paul says, are nothing, zippo, zilch, compared to what we have in store for us, that God has planned for us in heaven. Make sure your target is properly set aright. If we haven't been to confession in a long time, come back. Maybe you don't think you have a lot of sins, but just by going to confession, you receive that sacramental grace. You haven't been baptized. Your baby hasn't been baptized. Get him baptized. Get her baptized. Why? Because that makes them a beloved son or daughter of God. If you know someone who's suffering, call the church. Let them know. This person just had something difficult happen to them. They might need a phone call. Maybe God's asking you to make that phone call. Maybe God is asking you to sacrifice a round of golf so that you might actually hang out with your family. Maybe God is after you to turn off your computer, to put down your phone, get off of Etsy or eBay or Wayfair or whatever, and be with your son, your daughter, who is playing with their blocks or playing their video game. Whatever. You being there is just like you being there with Jesus. Obviously, Jesus' sacramental presence, his body, blood, soul, and divinity is here. But if that son or daughter is a beloved son or daughter of God, it's worth spending time. It's worth spending time with your mother and father. I know they're cantankerous. I know they stink. I know that they have bad attitudes, and maybe they're not believers. Praise God. Praise God, because you are blessed when they persecute you. You are blessed when they come after you, because they came after him first. It's a difficult message. It's a difficult message, but it is the message of good news. That we pass through the cross to receive the resurrection. We pass through suffering. We go through our passion, our suffering, for the sake of Jesus Christ, walking in his footsteps as his true disciple. And it will cost a lot, but you're not alone. We're with you. And most of all, he's with you. So this is why we receive Holy Communion today. It's because we can't do it. We're not strong enough, Lord. There's no way I can do that. There's no way I can pay that price. There's no way I can give that time. There's no way I can go. But with you, I can do all things. I will do the impossible because you promised it. You said, with the world, nothing is possible. But with me, all things are possible. With Jesus, all things are possible. So let us ask him for grace and strength this day that we can walk in faith, be strengthened in hope, and live a life of love of our brothers and sisters and of God who gives himself for us today in Holy Communion and at the cross. May God bless you, and may you always persevere in his grace, his strength, and his love and mercy now and forever. Amen.